Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be making a tutorial on how to cut and sew a corset top with yoke. So if this is something that interests you, kindly stay tuned till the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to start with, these are the fabric we are going to be using. I'm making a gown. So this Ankara is what I'll use for the cup and the skirt part of the gown. This net is for the yoke and this fabric is for the upper bodies of the gown. So I'm going to go ahead and set it aside, then draft the pattern. So to start with, I'm going to go ahead and insert my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. Then I'm going to go down by 1 inch, or that's 8 inches. Then I will mark my neck width, which is 4 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect those points together to form my shoulder slope. So after forming the shoulder slope, I'm going to go ahead and insert my bust point measurement, which is 11.5. I will insert my under bust, which is 15.5, my waistline, which is 18.5. Then I'm going to add half an inch as allowance that I'm going to use to join together to the down part. So I'm going to go ahead and make straight lines on those points. So I'm going to label my lines, my bust point, under bust, waistline at the allowance that I am adding. So after that, I will go to the shoulder line again and go ahead and mark out my armhole measurements. My armhole measurement is 9.5 inches. So that's what I'm marking out now. So on that armhole measurement, I'm going to form a straight line as well. And this straight line, I'm going to label it as my chest line. Then I'm going to connect the shoulder slope to the chest line, which is going to indicate where our armhole is going to be. Then I will insert my bust circumference measurement divided by 4 and go ahead to the line that joined the shoulder slope to the chest line and look for the midpoint, go in by half an inch. Then I'm going to connect that together with my armhole curve to form my armhole. So after that, I'll go ahead to work on my dart. So I'm going to insert my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches divided by 2, that's 4. So I'm going to insert 4 inches on the bust point, on the chest line, on the under bust, and on the waistline. Then I'm going to extend it to the allowance as well. So I'm going to use my ruler to connect those points together to form a straight line. So after connecting those points together, I'll go ahead to the chest line, and you can decide to maintain this chest line or you can decide to go up. Depends on how covered you want your corset to be. So I want it to be a bit covered, so I went up by 1.5 inches from the chest line. Then above the chest line on the center front, I went in by half inch, and I went up by half inch and I went in by half inch as well. Then I duplicate that half inch on the bust point as well. So there's something I forgot to do. On the under bust, I'm going to place my tape on the other bust and go out on both sides of the dart line with 1.5 inches. So once I measure that, I'm going to connect it down to my waistline. Guys, I just learned this method of making corset and it turned out nice. So yeah, after that, I'll go down from my bust point by 1 inch. Then I'm going to use my armhole curve to connect the point on the under bust to the part where I came down by 1 inch. So after connecting it like so, I'm going to extend my chest line to that's 1.5 inch that I came up with from the chest line. So after extending it, I will take my armhole curve and connect that to the center front, to the half an inch I came in with at the center front. Then I'm going to sit my curve properly to form one side of my cup. So once I connect it together like that, our side, one side of the cup is ready, so I'll move to the other side. For the other side, I'm going to go ahead and insert my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 4 inches. So if yours is 3 inches, you will mark 3 inches over there. So I marked my 4 inches and I placed my armhole cuff properly. Then I'm going to connect it like that to reach the chest line. Then I'm going to curve it at the top part from the chest line to the line that I came up with. So guys, to tighten the upper bust, I'm going to go out on both sides by one inches. Then I'm going to use my armhole curve to just connect those 1 inch to the bust point like so. So guys, after you do that, our cups are finally ready. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and I'm just trying to blend in the lines properly. So from that upper part of the curve like so, that's where our yoke starts from. So I'll go ahead and mark the neckline. The neck depth I'm going for is 4 inches. So I'm going to use my armhole curve to connect it together, but actually I don't like the shape of this neckline, so I had to place my armhole curve again properly so to get the neckline I want. So disregard the upper part. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark my circumference measurements. Remember, we already have our bust points, bust circumference measurements there, so I added the 2 inches. I measured the 2 inches we are going to be cutting out for the upper bust tightening. I measured it there. Then I'm going to go ahead and measure my and add my 1.5 inch seam allowance. So on the waistline as well, I'm going to measure my waistline of 9.25. Then the 3 inches we are cutting off as that, I'm going to add it, and I'm going to add 1.5 inch for my seam allowance. So once I add that, I'm going to take my ruler to connect it together like so. Then I'm just going to go ahead and label the upper part yoke. After labeling it, I'm going to cut it out. So guys, this is our front panel. That's our yoke at 2 cups. I'm just going to label my 2 cups and give it arrow to show me how I'm going to join it together. My center front, my side front, and my yoke. So guys, I'm going to go ahead now to draft the back panel. So for the back panel, I've drafted my basic bodice pattern, the zipper allowance, the chest line, the waistline, and the allowance. Then I've marked my armhole. So on the chest line and on the waistline, I'm going to go in by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Then on the waistline, I will go in on both sides by 1/2 inch, and I'll connect it to the chest line to form my dart legs. So guys, remember, every measurement you are taking on your back panel is usually after your zipper allowance. So when you are measuring yours, don't forget that. So this 4 inches I measured now is after my zipper allowance. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark my neck depth. I'm using 2 inches, but this neck depth I'm marking out now is just a placeholder. I'm actually not using a low neck depth. I'm not using a high neck depth. I want a low neckline. So I'm going to go ahead now and insert my bust measurements and add 1.5 inch seam allowance. Then on my waistline, I'm trying to label the zipper so we can know that that's the zipper allowance. So on my waistline, I'm going to insert my waist measurement of 9.25, add the 1 inch we are using for our dart intake, and add the 1.5 seam allowance to it. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect it together with a straight line. So after connecting it together, remember I said I don't want a high neckline, so I'm just going to take my armhole and just lower and just measure the neckline I'm going for. Initially I wanted it to stop on my chest line, but I decided to move it up a bit. So this is the new neckline that I'll be using for my back panel. So remember, the front panel has a yoke, so this back panel is going to have a yoke as well. So from the chest line to the upper part, that's our yoke. So that's what I'm labeling now. So after marking everything like that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Eliminate zipper bulge, I'm going to go in on the waistline by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to connect it straight to the chest line and just trim off the 1/2 inch. So guys, this is what I have as my back panel after cutting it. The yoke, I've separated the yoke from the main bodice, and this is what I have. So I'm bringing back my front panel now. So we are actually done with drafting of our pattern. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut all this on my fabric. So guys, after cutting everything on my fabric, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to cut the cup, and this is the back panel here. I added 1/2 inch allowance at the top that I'm going to use to join to the yoke. I added 1/2 inch around the top, the cup rather. I added 1/2 inch around the cup part of the side front and the upper part, 1/2 inch for the center front as well. So for the yoke, I've gone ahead to cut my net out for the yoke. I added 1/2 inch for the down part I'm going to use to join to the down part, and 1/2 inch at the shoulder line, which I'm going to use to join to the back panel. So after doing that, I went ahead to trim the wording. I cut the wording as well for the pieces for the cups. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to work on my cup. So guys, before I forget, I've actually cut the skirt part that I want to use for the skirt part of this fabric. So I want to go ahead now to arrange my, so I'm going to arrange my cups. I'm going to place it properly, and I'm going to take it to my iron and just press it down. Use my iron to attach the wording to my cup. So I'm going to attach hair stay to every piece of this fabric. So after attaching hair stay to wording to my cup and hair stay to every piece of the fabric and the lining, this is what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead now to trim off every excesses of wording from the cups. So guys, after that, I'm going to arrange the cups properly, place it on each other like so, and take it to my machine to sew it down with 1/2 inch allowance. I will do the same for the other cup as well. So the next thing I will do is to work on my front panel. So I'm going to take the center front and the side fronts. I'm going to place them on each other. So for the side front and the center, for one piece of the side front, I'll place the center front on it like so. Then I'm going to take it to my machine and sew it down with 1/2 inch. I'll open it up, place the second side of the side front on it and sew it down. Then I will give it a good press. So this is what I have after doing that, and I've pressed it open. So this is my wording. I've sewn it down. I'll just go ahead and trim and give it a notch all round. So after notching it, I'm going to take it to my ironing board and just press the joining open with the use of my tailor's arm. So I've gone ahead to fold in my bony casing. So I used 2 inches. I measured 2 inches, then I folded it in. Then I'm going to place it on the center front, on the 2 joinings of the side, and sew it down. So guys, this is what I have after doing that. So I've already sewn that the bony casing, and I've pressed open my joining for the cups, and this is how our cups turned out. As you can see, the cups came out perfectly. So I believe this method I just learned now is actually is easy and is it's going to come out perfectly the way this came out perfectly. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is to pin one side of the cup to one side of the space the way I'm pinning it down now, so that I'll take it to my machine and sew it down. So this is what I have after pinning it down. So as you can see, it's looking so neat and beautiful. There's no excesses or any side, so it came out perfectly. So I'll go ahead and sew it down like so. Then I'll do the same for the other cup as well. So this is what I have, guys, after joining the cup together to the main bodies. This is what I have. So our cup is almost ready. So it's now time to place our yoke on it. So I'm going to go ahead now and lay the yoke, the right side of the yoke on the right side of the bodies. So I'll make sure the center are aligning. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it down like so. Then I'm going to pin it all around to one side. I'll pin it all around to the other side as well. So after pinning it down, this is what it looks like even without sewing it down yet. So I've gone ahead to work on my lining. So everything I did to the main bodies, I did it to the lining. So I'm going to place the right side of the lining on the right side of the fabric the way I just placed it now. So I'm going to take it to my machine and sew it down. Remember, the yoke is in between the lining and the main bodies. Then I'm going to join the yoke of the back panel to it as well. Then I'm going to place the lining on it and sew it down. Then after sewing it down, I will top stitch and join the sides together. So I'm going to top stitch for the front panel as well. So guys, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to do all that I said I'll do. So it's time to insert our boning into the boning casing. So I'm trying to measure it out, insert it, trim off the edges, making sure so that it will not hurt us when we wear it. So guys, after inserting the boning, this is what I have. So I'll just go ahead and sew it down at the down part. So I've gone ahead to join the back panel and I've taken in the darts. So I'm going to join the upper part to the lower part as for the front and the back panel. So this is what I have after doing that, and I've gone ahead to pipe my neckline with a bias strip. So the next thing I'm going to do is to ensure I place the back panel on the front panel. Then I'm going to join the shoulders together and the sides, and we are practically done with our outfit. So I'm going to do that and come back to show you the final look of this outfit. So guys, this is the final look of our corset with yoke. So let me know in the comment section whether you try out this method, if your cup came out perfectly like this came out. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel to enjoy more content. I'll see you guys in the next one.